So let's say you're asked about the topic of willpower. Okay, here's some information that you could give. You could say that where there's a will, there's a way is actually a proverb of hope. Can you guys see this Word document, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, so very often we find ourselves in the midst of a difficulty and we think that there is no way out of it. We want to do a thing and 100 difficulties raise their heads in the way. Now, God has given man the power of thinking and reasoning. The faculties of his mind are many, okay? When a man stands face to face with a difficulty, he must rouse up all his faculties and intellectual resources. Surely, something must turn up which will show him a ray of light in the midst of darkness, right? A poor boy wants to go for higher studies. He has no money to buy books or pay his fees. Very often, such a boy gives up his desire in despair. His career may be finished off, and he may go down the wrong path. However, if he has got the strength of character, he will definitely persist and persevere. He will go about getting his books any way he can. He will borrow them or beg for them. He will set his hand to anything that may help him earn more money. However, that is based on the precedent that he summons up his free will and mental resilience and aptitude to convert his disadvantages into his advantages, right? The problem is not the problem. Like I said in the last class, it is our attitude about the problem. And the first step to solving any problem in life lies in acknowledging the fact that there is one. Dreams come true, but only if you work hard enough for them. After all, the history of the world is simply the history of the great men who fought their way up only by the dint of their own free will. Okay? So these are some ideas that you could employ if you are being asked on the topic of willpower. Similarly, let's say you are being asked about the fact that do you believe that, let's say आपको section 1 पूछा जाता है, do you believe that love of money is the root of all evil? Okay, what are you going to say about it? Okay, so we can look at a passage there also. Love of money is the root of all evil, right? The idea under review is that the love of money, not the money itself, is the root of all evil. Money is a necessity of human beings. मतलब हमारी एक बुनियादी ज़रूरत है, right? In order to live, one needs food, clothes, and shelter. Okay, life would be impossible without these things. It is plain logic that only money can guarantee these basic and fundamental necessities of life. Not only these, one has other expenses to meet. Not only, but one has other expenses to meet if one has to live with dignity and honor. One needs money to bring and educate one's children, to marry one's daughters off, to buy medicine in sickness, and maybe to help a needy person. Without money, one would be poor. Poverty, in the ultimate analysis, despite its professed advantages, is a curse. A poor man cannot see the full blossoming of his talents. He cannot play the role for which he is best suited for and cannot achieve his ambitions, however noble or praiseworthy. Certain exceptions may be there, but they are exceptions, not the rules. Therefore, money is a need, a requirement. It should be earned honestly and spent judiciously. Its true status is the servant of man. In itself, it is neither a value nor a noble cause, nor yet a principle of living or a philosophy of life. It is certainly not the objective of one's life, right? It should neither be eulogized, it should neither be praised, nor should it be condemned. The trouble basically begins with man under the strong influence of the stockpiling or hoarding instinct in him, develops a love for money. He exalts money, his servant, to the status of his master. He begins to enjoy the sensation of earning money. He devotes his entire life towards the acquisition of money without knowing what to do with all this money. Ultimately, he is dehumanized in the process. He becomes less than a human being. He sacrifices every good thing at the altar of money, moral values, kith and kin, friends, even his own family. He becomes greed personified. He makes money his religion and begins to worship the goddess of wealth. He becomes a moral wreck on account of failing to sublimate his animal instinct, that is hoarding. A cultured and civilized person hoards not money, but knowledge and books, right? And that's why I keep telling you guys, just make sure you read lots of books. As Ruskin once put, it is impossible for an educated intellectual or a brave man to make money the chief objective of his thought process. All right? You get, fellas? You get what I'm trying to say? So, there's every chance that you could be asked on these sort of themes. So it's very important that you guys, have a a good, causation linked with your answer. Okay, you have a good, reasonable level of explanation that you can bring into the equation. Okay, you don't just sit there and guess, what the possible answer could be. Again, there's no right and wrong answer, but it all comes down to your perspective. Okay, it comes down to your value judgment. It comes down to your, qualitative reasoning process. Okay, and the more you think about it, the more you speak on these things, the better you will be for the actual interview. Okay. So far, so good.
जी जी
Okay. All right. Then there's another saying in life, that you might have heard, that is, Rome was not built in a day. How many of you guys have heard it? Like, the problem is आप सब लोगों ने अपनी videos भी off रखी होती हैं, तो there's no way I can know, whether you guys are getting it or not. So yeah, I mean, Rome was not built in a day. Is that something that you've ever come across at some stage in your life? Guys, are you with me?
जी जी सर
Yeah, I asked you guys a question. There's a thing in life, Rome was not built in a day. Have you ever heard this?
No, sir.
No. Okay. All right. So, in today's 21st century, right, there's this mentality that हर चीज हमें रातों रात चाहिए, right? Be it fame, be it power, be it wealth, be it fortune, be it whatever. Okay, we just want everything to be done overnight. अभी Facebook पे post डाली है, after 10 seconds we want 100 likes, 200 shares or something, right? We want everything to be done overnight, and that's what we need to understand, that success, right? It's a gradual process. It does not happen instantly. If you plant a seed, it's not going to give you the crop overnight. It's going to be months of toiling and hard work for it to fully blossom into a crop or a flower or a tree, So whatever good comes in life, it doesn't come overnight. It comes with the passage of time. Okay. That's what I mean when I say that Rome was not built in a day. Okay. So basically, what we need to understand is that this proverb that Rome was not built in a day, right? It means that nothing great can be done or achieved in the twinkling of an eye. In the ancient times, fellas, if you look at history, Rome was a center of everything that is good in human life. It was a resplendent icon in terms of military power, wealth, and culture. And the eyes of the people of those days were turned towards Rome. एक और भी proverb है simple जो कहता है कि all roads lead to Rome. However, Rome did not become such a powerful and prosperous city in the time span of just a day or a year. It took a long time for a few huts on the hillside to transform into one of the greatest cities of the world of its era. Millions of people toiled and burned the midnight oil to transform a small village into a vast city of wealth and splendor. So you get what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, everything great, it does not happen overnight. It is a slow and gradual process. It takes time. That's why they say that discipline and long-term consistency, they matter more than short-term intensity. This should be the motto of everyone who wants to do something great in his life. One cannot climb a hill in just one jump. He must climb it slowly and step by step. It will require a patient and steady toil. It will require a heart of courage. The great scientist who brought man's civilization to the apotheosis or zenith or the peak of its trajectory, he did not do it overnight. Napoleon did not conquer the whole of Europe in a day. He was born poor, but labored, he labored his way to progress. The same goes for the Egyptian pyramids, which are, by the way, one of the wonders of the ancient world. Therefore, the secret lies in patience and perseverance. Okay. Some of the greatest success in life is derived from having the freedom to fail at will. Okay. And this is very true. Some of the greatest success in life is actually derived from having the freedom to fail at will. The people who succeed in life, they're not the ones who don't fail. The people who succeed, they are not the ones who don't fail. They're simply those who do not give up. After all, sometimes it is the people whom no one imagines. This is a quote, by the way, from that movie, The Imitation Game. And after all, sometimes it is the people whom no one imagines would do anything end up doing things that no one would imagine. So, never always remember that whatever you're doing at the moment, okay, just start it, okay, just keep on building it, step by step, inch by inch, percentage by percentage, okay, and one day it will attain completion, one day it will yield fruition, one day it will give you the desired result that you were expecting all along. Okay, so never let this moment be your identity. Never let your present situation be your final destination, because just when a caterpillar thinks that life is over, just when a caterpillar thinks that life is over, it actually evolves into a butterfly. Okay, is that understood, fellas? Rome was not built in a day. Do you get it now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Apart from that, or किसी topic पे अगर हम बात कर लें, right? For example, let's say examiner साहब आपसे कहते हैं that what do you think should be the role of youth in the development of Pakistan? What should be the role of youth in the development of Pakistan? आज के ज़माने में जहाँ inflation 40% से ऊपर चली गई है, petrol diesel has made a triple century. I mean, there's record poverty, and I mean, the political institutions are a mess, just like they were since the beginning of the country being made in 1947. Where literally nothing seems to be going right. What do you feel today could be the role of the youth in the development of Pakistan, right? So this could be another question that you could be asked. I don't know. I'm not the examiner, but maybe, I'm trying to guess his mind. I'm trying to play a mind game with the examiner. So maybe he asked you this question, what's the role of the youth in development of Pakistan, right? What could you say? You could say that, well, the youth play an integral role in the development of any country. So what do you mean by youth? Youth basically comprises of the age bracket of 18 to 25 years. There was a very prominent English poet by the name of Longfellow, and he had a poem actually called My Lost Youth, in which he says that the youth dwells in the far future and has long thoughts. He said in his poem that the youth lives in the far future and has long thoughts. And this school of thought was very closely mirrored by the great Allama Iqbal. वो कहते हैं कि इंसान का बुनियादी जो मसला वो है कि ये माजी की आहें बढ़ते हैं, मुस्तकबिल के हवाई किले तामीर करते हैं, मगर हाल का कोई नहीं सोचता. माजी की आहें बढ़ते हैं, मुस्तकबिल के हवाई किले तामीर करते हैं, मगर हाल का कोई नहीं सोचता. So living in the present, I think that's the very first thing that the youth need to do in terms of development of the country. Then next up, I think you need to identify the areas that are within your scope and the areas that are out of your scope. There's always that serenity prayer in life, that may God Almighty grant us the serenity. Now, what is serenity? Serenity means tolerance, the ability to accept things that are beyond your control. Just like India-Pakistan ka ek match tha, so many people were looking forward to it. It was a much awaited hype. It was a very eagerly anticipated clash of the Titans, right? But in the end, rain had the final say, God had the final say, it got washed out, nothing, no conclusive result could be deduced out of it, right? So now you would just sulk and say, you know what, it rained and everything. Well, that was beyond your control, right? You can't make the rain stop. You can't make the rain start, right? So serenity means tolerance, the ability to accept things that are beyond your control, right? So there's always this serenity prayer in life that may God Almighty grant us the serenity, to accept the things that we cannot change, the wisdom. May He grant us the serenity to change may God grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change. May He grant us the courage to change the things that we can change, but more importantly, may He grant us the wisdom, to know the difference. Okay. And आज के माशरे में the reason why अगर हमें देखते हैं कितना नफ्सा नफ्सी का आलम है, वो ये है कि जो चीजें हमारे कंट्रोल में उन पे हम नहीं काम करते, जो चीजें हमारे आउट ऑफ कंट्रोल है, बहुत ज्यादा उसके ऊपर सोच विचार करते रहते, to the point where it fills us up with depression, alienation, disillusionment, and all types of other negative phenomena. So bottom line is that you need to live in the present and identify the areas that are in your control. Okay, so if you look at the youth in our country, they have very ambitious dreams. Someone wants to become a very highly revered doctor. Someone wants to become a very prominent scientist. Someone wants to become a very influential lawyer. Someone wants to be a very, very accomplished engineer. Okay, we intend to build great businesses, become millionaires, billionaires, gazillionaires. They have the ambition to write great books or paint great pictures or compose great music and earn more fame. They desperately want to elevate or enhance their ranks in the country. But unfortunately, अगर आप आज देखें, आज अगर आप मुलाहिज़ा फरमाएं scenario को, तो the youth in the country, they are squandering, they are wasting their intellectual property and potential. They have been misguided and misdirected. We're seeing it in life making nowadays. We have taller buildings but shorter tempers. We have guided missiles being fired by misguided souls. So the leadership has actually displayed neglect, and they have not been utilized up to full capacity. And this has actually inhibited or destroyed the productivity of our youth, and it has made us vulnerable, or it has made us succumb the inhumane forces of alienation and existentialism. Owing to failure to use resources effectively, the unemployment rate has taken a quantum leap for the worst. Also, हमारे जो पढ़े लिखे जो अफराद है, अगर हम लास्ट ईयर का सर्वे देखें तो 7,65,000 people just left the country, right? So obviously that just leaves behind a poorer and less skillful segment behind that are less capable of overcoming the problems in our country, be it of a political dimension, social dimension, economic, religious, or any other dimension, right? So the talented and economically privileged sections of the youth, what's happening is they are going abroad for work or study purposes. They are becoming ignorant of the fact that Pakistan has equipped them with the educational facilities at an early stage of their existence. Hence, the young generation is duty bound to keep in mind that only they can play the most important role in the development of their motherland. And what do I mean by the fact that they can play a very important role in the development of the motherland? It's not necessarily, you only go where God Almighty has written in your destiny, right? But even if you go abroad, you can send money back home. You can channel resources back in your country to establish some businesses, to establish some charity foundations, that can give skill sets to people, that can give vocational training to a large segment of the masses, that could actually fund welfare and other rehabilitation programs for the IDPs, the marginalized communities, for those who are victims of natural disasters like hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, floods, and so forth. Therefore, because serving is not just one way, it's not just one type of duty. It can be in very different ways. It can be practical as well as ideological. Just giving a word of motivation to a younger person in your country or outside your country in regards to serving your motherland can go a long way in terms of improving the image of our country in the near foreseeable future. Therefore, the young generation is duty bound, to keep in mind the fact that only they can play the most important role in the development of the motherland. This is the time of life, ladies and gentlemen, when the foundations of future are laid. It is said that the generation of today is to lead the country tomorrow. Hence, the youth must rally itself together and burst the glass ceiling if it wishes for Pakistan's trajectory to, take a turn for the positive. Is that understood? Any questions so far?
No, sir.
What about?
नहीं.
All right, Fatma, what about you? I sometimes doubt that you guys are even listening. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, unfortunately, we teachers can't force you students to turn on your cameras. But you students really need to understand that when you keep your cameras off, it's very, very difficult for the teacher to know, whether you guys are attentive, whether you guys are zapped in or not. And it really gives the teacher a feeling, that he is, speaking to the walls. So the least you guys can do is, reply promptly. I hope one day you guys become teachers also, so you understand how difficult this is, speaking to a black screen. Okay, so these are we have covered 4 topics so far. Where there's a will, there's a way. Love of money is the root of all evil. Rome was not built in a day, and the role of youth in the development of Pakistan. Okay, उसके बाद एक और topic को देखते हैं. That is inflation. The rising cost of living. Okay, आजकल obviously inflation has become a big curse as far as this country is concerned. So let's say अगर आपको question पूछा जाता है exam में on inflation, the rising cost of living, okay, what could you say in regards to that? Okay, so first of all, if the examiner, let's say, asks me, okay, Hadia, I want you to ask me a question. Okay, tell me about the rising cost of living. I want you to do that. Hadia asked you a question.
Sir, sorry, मुझे समझ नहीं आया.
No worries, I'll just go over it. Anyways, okay. So rising cost of living. Okay, so let's say हमें rising cost of living के ऊपर एक question पूछा जाता है. Okay, so there's some information that I've prepared, that you guys could factor into consideration when you're answering. Today, rising cost of living is an everyday theme in the bus, at the office, and at the market. Almost all conversations, they revolve around the rising prices. Increase of general price levels is generally known as inflation. The common man feels inflation when the prices of his consumer goods go up. He feels the rising cost of living with each and every increment. What is increment? Increase, in his bus fare, bread prices, and utility bill prices. This has led to the inception or the origin or the creation of a lot of social problems, which at its extreme form cause social unrest. Over the years, our wants and needs have increased. Okay, in the early days, the father of a family would be the sole breadwinner, and with his earnings, his family would build a house, educate the children, as well as potentially save for the future. As the economy develops, our wants and needs get more complicated. In food, clothes, and almost all of the consumer goods, there's a wide variety of choices. With variety and choice comes the price to pay. Cost of living can rise due to various reasons. Prices of vegetables depend heavily on supply side shocks. Too much or too little rain could raise the prices of vegetables. Rain also has an effect on the fish prices. The unrest encountered in a specific region in the country could also contribute to the distribution difficulties and may tend to upscale or increase the prices. Okay, so almost all prices of food items and other consumables could go up on the increase of transport costs. The largest share of Sri Lanka's import bill is for the import of oil, by the oil ingredients. So any oil price shock due to unrest, let's say in the Middle East, or terrorism, or political volatilities, or lack of supplies due to other reasons, it could see a very sharp increase in the oil prices. Now, when petrol and especially diesel prices go up, all price levels, they tend to increase. Therefore, आप कह सकते हैं, right? आप इस नतीजे पे पहुंच सकते हैं that the high cost of living can be generally attributed to the escalating oil prices. Since a country cannot be self-sufficient in every way, right? Since a country cannot be self-sufficient in every way, it is difficult to find a solution for the rising prices in isolation. Cultivation of rice, vegetables, and fruits may generally lower their prices. Any incentive given to the paddy and other agricultural farmers today could therefore yield benefits for the whole society in the future. At the same time, it is necessary to find alternative energy sources. Okay, so to conclude, the high cost of living, fellas, is felt by everyone. It is difficult to curb the rising cost of living unless some long-term policy measures are enacted or adopted by a country. The agricultural sector should be empowered to produce more food to cater to the needs of the society. People should be made aware of the local substitutes for imported goods and should be encouraged to appreciate local goods. If enough food, livestock, and fisheries are produced within the country, the cost of food could be lowered and it will relieve a great burden resting on the families, especially those hailing from marginalized communities, especially those coming from poor societies. Is that understood? Any questions so far? Any questions so far?
नहीं सर सही है मुझे तो सही लग रहा है
What about the rest? I believe there are two other students in the class as well. Fatma, what about you? I mean, there's been complete radio silence from your end. I mean, are you even listening, or are you just sleeping or playing your PlayStation behind the black screen? Okay, next up, public opinion is as potent a force as nuclear energy. All right. Okay, so there is this, I'm going to send this out in the chat box. Okay. Public opinion is as potent a force as nuclear energy. Okay, so public opinion is as potent a force as nuclear energy. Okay, let's talk about it. Now, what do we mean by public opinion? लोगों का अंदाज, राइट, लोगों का पर्सपेक्टिव किसी भी चीज के ऊपर, राइट, कोई भी खबर आती है पाकिस्तान के अंदर 99.9% वो हमेशा खबर नेगेटिव ही होती है, लेकिन अमूमन लोगों का एक पर्सपेक्टिव होता है, उसके ऊपर एक रिएक्शन होता है, राइट, कुछ हमायत करते हैं, कुछ हमायत नहीं करते, राइट, कुछ चीज को प्रेज करते हैं, कुछ कंडेम करते हैं, राइट. सो अब इसका क्या मतलब है कि पब्लिक ओपिनियन इज एज पोटेंट अ फोर्स एज न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी. Nuclear energy, it's probably the strongest force, I mean, as far as the creation is concerned, it's probably the strongest force that the creation has ever made, So, जितनी effective nuclear energy होती है अपना point assert करने में, अब एक country जो nuclear power है, दूसरा country उसकी बात नहीं माने तो वो nuclear power से threat दे सकते हैं उसको अपनी बात मनवाने के लिए. So, जितनी effective nuclear energy है अपनी बात मनवाने में, उतना ज़्यादा public opinion भी आपका effective होता है, उतना ज़्यादा आपका public opinion भी effective होता है. Okay. So the thing is that no government can simply, no government can expect to survive, by simply floating their opinions around. Public opinion is as powerful in the modern era as the priesthood of the Catholic Church was during the ancient times. William Dobb once said that public opinion refers to people's attitude on an issue when they're members of the same social group. Now, if you look at it in the modern context, public opinion, it has gained complex features. It is organized through various agencies. You have the press, you have educational institutions, you have the cinema, the TV, and other audiovisual means of mass communication, associations, and legislatures, which are chiefly the agencies that formulate and disseminate public opinion. Now, the newspaper and the press, fellas, are paid forces of expressing and formulating public opinion. Mass media can be a catalyst to bring about social action. So public opinion is sometimes suppressed. However, it is an established fact that the more it is suppressed, the more powerful it will grow and tend to seek an outlet to vent itself out to the world, right? इसलिए आप देखेंगे जब भी जिन मुआशरों में लोगों के ऊपर जुल्म किया जाता है, उनके ऊपर सप्रेशन की जाती है, उनकी राइट्स और प्रिविलेजेस जो डिनाई की जाती है, एक पॉइंट आता है जब इतना ज्यादा लोग रिबेलियस हो जाते हैं कि म्यूटनी होती है, एक इनकलाब आता है. There's a tipping point. There's that saying of Liam Neeson in that movie Batman Begins. That when a forest grows too wild, a purging fire becomes natural and inevitable. So public opinion cannot be suppressed easily, even if any systematic attempt is made to do so. It does not emerge out of any one single incident or one isolated action, right? But it is the consequences of the overall impact of the political, social, and cultural lifestyles of the people. No government can afford to go against the wishes of the people, as it simply derives its strength and vote bank from them, their convictions, their beliefs. So even a dictatorship, and history is a living testament to this, that even a dictatorship cannot last long in the face of adverse public opinion. Now, organized public information, if it is unnecessarily suppressed, it will always result in agitation. It's always going to result in protests and demonstrations. The governments have to bow before the force of the public opinion, which is never wrong. The voice of the people has often been likened to the voice of God himself. Its importance and potency cannot be overemphasized. And whenever or wherever public opinion is spontaneous, and it grows at a healthy rate, it acts as a moral force by placing stringent checks on, the corrupting influence of power. Okay? Is that understood?
Yes.
All right.
जी सर.
Okay. So उसके अलावा और हम एक चीज देख सकते हैं और किस चीज के ऊपर आपसे बात की जा सकती है. Role of women in nation building, right? इसके ऊपर भी आपसे बात की जा सकती है. Role of women in nation building. Okay. So if they ask you about if the examiner asks you what do you think is the role of women in nation building, you can say that women play a vital or important role in the development of a nation. अगर हम पाकिस्तान के कॉन्टेक्स्ट से बात करें, so women of the world as well as women of the Indo-Pak subcontinent, right? They made history through their valuable contribution and hard work. As a solid proof, the past history of Pakistan reveals that women worked shoulder to shoulder with the man for the creation of this country. By founding All India Muslim League's women wing, what they did was they created awareness among the Muslim women, that if they want to live in a befitting and honorable manner, then they have to struggle against British rule to get themselves independent. And as a result, the efforts were successful and Pakistan came into being. So, अगर आप 1988 के census को analyze करें, 1988 का जो आपको population census था पाकिस्तान का, उसमें women were found to comprise of 48.88% of the total population of Pakistan. However, in the past, they were totally ignored, as no such efforts were made which could enhance the literacy rate. They were not employed in public and private organizations. They were deprived of medical and educational facilities, especially in rural areas. However, in a developing country like Pakistan, women's participation in nation building and making character of the young generation cannot be ignored. And uske bawajood agar aaj aap dekhein, violence against women is still happening at the grassroots level, be it rape, burning, ransom, honor killing, it's still at rise despite the government's iron-hand action in a few cases. Another discouraging fact is that more than half of the women in Pakistan, right, they suffer poverty as compared to 1/3 of the men. So in Pakistan, you have 1/3 of the men being poor, whereas you have more than half of the women being poor, And the world is yet to see a noble, pious, and fully virtuous leader, because in the degradation of women, the very fountains of life are poisoned at their source. They are not allowed to go out of their homes to work. Women and girls, they often suffer more in households. It could be because of their lower social status. It could be because of their limited access to economic options and social services. It could be because of their lack of control over financial assets. Now, however, if we look at the other side of the picture, right, it reveals that Pakistani working women are no less than the Europeans. At present, they're working in banks, they're working in local government institutions, colleges, schools, police departments, hospitals, courts, computer centers, public and private offices, as well as the armed forces of Pakistan, right? They have been given reasonable representation in the local government system, national and provincial assemblies, as well as the Senate. And this shows that if the women of Pakistan, right, if they are given the equal status and opportunities to work with the man, then they can showcase their abilities and capabilities at the national level. So what do we need is we need more awareness, obviously, but we need more vocational training institutes. We need women to be given more opportunities in the workplace. More schools should be opened up, in order to increase the literacy rate, and women's jobs quota in public organizations should be enhanced so that they play a strong role, a commendable role, an imperative role, a Herculean role, in strengthening the financial position of the country and facilitating its people living a more comfortable life. Okay. So this is something that you could talk about, the role of women in nation building. Okay. Similarly, आपसे पूछा जा सकता है, what's your ambition in life? What's your ambition in life? आप कल को मुस्तकबिल में क्या करना चाहते हैं? Once again, now that's very from person to person. My ambition may not be the same as your ambition and vice versa. But you could say that an ambition plays a vital role in the life of an individual. Different people have different ambitions. So when it comes to selecting a job in today's world, several angles have to be considered, such as financial incentives. Then you got environment and culture, you got creativity, you got personal growth, So I wish to become an efficient and charismatic teacher in my society. The motto of the teaching profession is simple living and philosophical thinking coupled with hard work in a sublime vision to help people excel in life. I'm fully aware as a teacher of the various menaces or the problems that face me in the form of limited pay and rigid deadlines. A teacher is considered to be a poor fellow. He leads a hard life, busy in correcting exercise books or answer sheets of his students. And there's a genuine dearth of enticing events in his life. There's a genuine shortage of interesting events in his life, But a teacher is like a ladder, fellas, that is fixed at one place, but it helps others rise high and soar to their respective destinations. So, and moreover, to a Muslim especially, this is a very noble and a virtuous profession. So yes, we pray that God gives us the courage and zeal to play an instrumental role in preparing the upcoming generation for the development of this country. Okay, so are you understanding, right? By listening to my explanation, like how you're supposed to present your answers? Agar aapse in topics mein pucha jaye, is that understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so so far we've talked about where there's a will, there's a way. The love of money is the root of all evil. Rome wasn't built in a day. Role of youth in development of Pakistan. Role of women in nation building. Rising cost of living. My ambition in life. Public opinion is as potent a force as nuclear energy. I think तीन या चार topics और के ऊपर मैं बात करूंगा. Then we will summarize this abstract discussion. उसके बाद मैं थोड़े से आप लोगों को idioms करा लूंगा. So hopefully in the next, after 10 minutes, I'm going to resend you the link again. Hopefully we can complete it in that session. Okay. So fellas, I'm just going to end the meeting here because time is about to end. मैं आपको 10 minutes में link दोबारा भेजूंगा. I repeat, today's class is not over. Okay, I'm going to send you the link again in 10 minutes. So please do wait, and then we're going to resume the session again. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. See you in 10 minutes. Bye-bye.